pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As usual, the first order is approving the minutes from last week. Need a motion to do so.
I'll so move, Mr. Chairman.
Don has moved,
All second.
Tim has seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Miscellaneous motions. Hospital board member. Anybody have a motion on this?
I'll move to reappoint Judy Reese as a member of the Coffee County Hospital Board for a 3-year term.
I'll second that motion.
Bob has moved to appoint Judy Reese as a member of the Coffee County Hospital Board for a 3-year term effective January 1st, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2024. Don has seconded. Any discussion? That is District 5, so I see the other applicant resides in District 2. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Or 4-1, excuse me. Next would be the Housing Authority. This would be District 3. With my understanding, there were no applicants for District 3. So,
what I've normally done is select a member to represent District 3 from another district.
okay,
And I would move to reappoint Mike Skillman to that board.
okay. So Fred has made a motion to reappoint Mike Skillman as representative of Coffee County Housing Authority on, let me reword that. Fred made a motion to reappoint Mike Skillman as a member of the Coffee County Housing Authority Board to a 4-year term beginning October 27th, 2020 and ending October 26th, 2024. Need a second.
All second.
Tim is seconded. All in favor?
Some discussion.
Okay.
I have a concern with that is one of the things when the Housing Authority comes in, they ask that before we ever waive landfill fees, people have to have their taxes paid up before the Housing Authority does anything for them. And I'm not in favor of putting people on the board that owe back taxes, and then that's a requirement that they make for other people. Just throw that out.
Any other discussion?
I fully understand Bob's position. I tried to look at both sides of this issue, and I had to settle on what that individual has done with his participation on the housing board and nothing else. And I understand there's some other factors that enter into this that might change someone's opinion, but I think that's personal and I need to stay out of that. But I know that he's been very active in donation of labor, materials, and equipment, and time. And that's my consideration for nominating him.
Anybody else?
I will say I do respect Fred's opinion, but I have my own opinion also.
That's fine. That's why we're all here. So Fred is moved, Ken is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Second one would be to District 1, which is my district. So I will make the motion to appoint Greg Stice as District 1 member of Coffee County Housing Authority to a 4-year term beginning October 27, 2020, and ending October 26, 2024.
Yeah.
Which, all three of these reside in my district.
You moved.
I made a motion to move,
I'll
yeah,
second.
Greg Stice. Fred is seconded, any discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Could I ask a quick question on, with, Russell's left now, and we just needed a clarification on payroll for him so that Denise can move forward.
Okay,
So he got paid, he was salary. And typically how we do that is we divide the salary by 365 to get the daily rate. The daily rate.
understand.
And then, so he was also getting paid for Woodson County. And since he left partial through this month, do you want us to do that also on that, or should we pay the amount? That's where we didn't know what to do on that.
Well, Amber and them was taking care of Woodson, so what's the rest of your opinion?
I think we just prorate it out to every how many days he worked. I mean, it's fair. He was here. He was
I think the
receiving
question,
part of it.
I think the question is whether or not we're paying for his Woodson County efforts, correct?
Well,
That's
we
what
would-
I'm saying.
we would
Prorate.
pay him for
that
some or all. We didn't know how he wanted us to handle that. So prorate it for the days he was here, or pay the full month, or how would you like us to?
Wasn't he getting the Woodson County extra above beyond his regular salary?
Yes, he
Yeah.
got 570.
Get 500 a month.
I'd say, I think take the 500 and prorate it out for the days he was here.
Was that?
I agree.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
I think that's the only way you can handle it, just prorate it out.
Okay. That's what we'll do.
Well, with that being said and those things accomplished, looks like we have Darren Ish. Thanks for coming in, Barry.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm going to get with y'all at some point, because we're not quite finished yet, but this is as good time as any, so I'll still come back when we are completely done, but runway updates, what you guys were after, is that correct?
Yeah, just an update. I mean,
Okay, sure.
it looks good from the highway, but
It is, it's really nice.
I kind of assumed it might already be totally done. All the equipment's gone and everything
Yeah.
there, and that's the reason I asked last week
You bet.
for you to give us an update.
Bet.
Appreciate you coming in, so.
Glad to do it. They met their time period. What we're waiting on now is they done the original runway marking at the end of the project before the 5 months were up. Part of it is they have to come back 1 month later and do a second coating of paint. We ran into so many days of 40-mile-an-hour winds and now the snow that I don't know who's responsible for. So we're hoping to get some warmer weather. We need it above 45 with some sunshine to finish the painting. So once that's done, then we can do the closeout and have it all finished up. The new lighting, the new runways, the new radio controllers, everything is just, it is so much nicer. There's no worrying about coming in on, Monday mornings and going out and seeing where the concrete is heaved. And so it's a big load off of our shoulders. We did have one change order through the project, and the change order came to $32,072. that change order when they were shooting elevations. There's a new deal that the FAA has come out with on the east side of the runway. The elevation of the dirt was higher than they wanted it, or it could be. So, and I think they took off probably, what did you say, Pat, 3 or 4 feet out for, I'm guessing 75 yards. And a substantial amount of dirt work, but they got it done. We threw in on that deal. They were also wanting to add, putting a new windsock because they were having trouble with the wiring on it. So the FAA would not approve doing the windsock because it was not associated with the runway, just how they word stuff. But because of the wiring issue, while they were trenching, the FAA did approve to include in this change order to run new wire to our windsock for the lighting. So we got that put in there. We're within a few years of needing new PAPI lights, so if we feel at that time we need a new windsock, everybody has different opinions, but ours is serviceable now. But if the FAA is paying for it, it's always good to upgrade when they offer. So on that change order, $32,072, that was 90/10. So we will pay 10% of that, $3,200. But that's all taken care of. The new under drains, everything is just so much better from 30 years ago. So it's great. We opened up around September 1st, a little before September 1st. We did catch a little bit of the fall spraying season with some cover crop work being done and some escort work being done, spraying pastures. So everything, it went smooth. They didn't run into any more rock than they anticipated. So all in all, we are extremely happy. Totally done. I asked you guys for $406,000 for 10% match. With some underruns we had, I think we're going to be right there. But when we're totally done and we have the final amounts, I will update you again, but I don't foresee anything that's going to affect you guys anymore financially. Like I say, it's wonderful, and we're sure tickled with it. So
You mentioned there at one time, the sub base is going to have to do some additional work, but they didn't create a change order for that, which.
Well, it was in there. That was kind of their gamble, and they went in. They did have to haul in stuff from Kansas City, fly ash or whatever it was to mix with it, but no, that did not create a change order.
To me, that's a huge plus on their part.
Yeah.
Joining hands or being a partner in
Right.
putting this together and not seeking a change order.
We were, Heidecker, it's the first time we had ever dealt with them, and they were a tremendous company to work with. They just, no questions, everybody's doing their job and nobody's sitting around. It was pretty neat to watch. The biggest project I've ever been involved with up there. So when they first started breaking concrete, it was a little stomach turning. We 5 months in there just tearing out a lot of concrete, but all in all, it went wonderful. Any other questions from you guys?
You're open for business pretty much then, or?
Yep, we're 100% open. We will have to close for 3 days when they come in to do the final painting, but it's starting to slow down our air traffic for the season. So, but once that's all done, we're rolling 100%. We got our mechanic moved back. We had leased a hangar in Emporia for him to work out of, and he stayed extremely busy up there. Brandon F., our mechanic, he's just somebody you don't have to watch over. We're lucky to have him. So, but we got him moved back. And everything's
Does FFA have somebody on site occasionally to make sure they're meeting specs? Because they don't have sign off on everything. How's FFA handling?
The engineering firm that we have during this project, they deal with the FAA every day, so they are there on site every day. I think the FAA may have showed up a couple of times just to see progress. What they're looking for is the reports on compaction, the concrete mix, as long as everything passes the test. So, but they did come down at the end and flew a drone over it to take some pictures. And I'm sure once the dust is all settled, they will just want to come see what the project is. We have a good relationship with the guys out of Kansas City in the FAA department, and they like to come see, and they're proud of what gets done around these smaller areas. So. Any questions? Do you have anything to add to that?
IDECR, like Darren said, IDECR was just amazing. They take pride in getting awards for their work. So we got an award for that airport, we got an award, and initially when the bids came in, we were like, oh, why are they so low?
Yeah.
But they're just that good.
Good deal.
They were great to work with, always kept us in the loop, so. So it was an interesting time for us being closed, but we made through it, so. Guys utilized their vacation and they, took some time off that they were able to do since we were closed, but repainted, we done floors, we done so much stuff to kill time. So, but it went great, and we're very tickled. This is something that's gonna outlast all of us. So we're happy to see it progress forward.
I'm glad it went well for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
You betcha. And like I say, once we get done, I can probably send the numbers and dollars and cents thing, but happy to come. I think we're gonna get right on the knob. So,
Good deal.
Thank you for your report.
you bet. Thank you.
Like Brad has something to share with us.
Yes, I do. And I'm going to invite Doug Vanderlinden by video. So I'm going to turn that on and turn the PA off, since we have a problem with that. Doug Vanderlinden will be representing the Coffee County Fiber Board along with me. So,
Brad, like Jesse to come sit in the chair if he wants to watch this.
yeah. Doug is not there yet, so I'll start with that. Okay. Start with the May of this year, we signed an agreement, and I'll read what we signed is upon the recommendation of the Fiber Optic Board and approval of county attorney and pursuant to paragraph 117 of the agreement between Valnet, formerly known as TerraWorld, and Coffee County, Kansas, and with said agreement for providing internet service to Coffee County residents and businesses utilizing the Coffee County fiber optic network, to renew an agreement for an additional 1 year beginning July 1 of 2020 to June 30th of 2021, with current subscriber rates as noted attached in the document. That is our internet provider, Valnet Holdings, and as of a week ago, Valnet Holdings declared bankruptcy. So, that throws a monkey wrench in everything. A little history on how this agreement came about was 20 years ago with Coffee Can Fiber Network connects Coffee County Courthouse, hospitals, 3 school districts, and all the libraries. We, at that time, put out for bid for internet service with that. And part of that internet service was to try and provide coverage to as many people in Coffee County as we could. And at that time, the only company that bid on it was this TerraWorld Inc. out of Independence. And so this was before my time. So they provided wireless network access to people in Coffee County and still do to this day. Currently at this time, there are 337 people, houses, businesses, families in Coffee County that still utilize their service. TerraWorld, it was Nick Bright, got a partner. They became Valnet. And we continue to service with them. It gets bid every year, our internet service. And a couple of years ago, Valnet was purchased by a company out of Oklahoma and became Valnet Holdings, which was a conglomeration of 4 or 5 businesses kind of doing the same thing. And this Valnet Holdings is who has declared bankruptcy. Nick Bright, at the time, saw what was happening and has spun off into another company called TelXP, which has the, I would say the hardware to provide the service for Coffee County as they did before. So what we're looking at is trying to change our agreement to reflect continuing with ValXP as our internet provider. TelXP, sorry. TelXP has agreed to continue our internet for the courthouse. We have 2 internet providers for the courthouse. Going forward, it will be TelXP and MT Networks. We do that so we have 2 different routes, and we don't lose, if we lose one connection, we don't lose complete internet. So at this time, this happened last week. I talked with Wade about changing this contract, and I was hoping he was here today. And I haven't seen him yet today. He was going to look over it over the weekend. We would like to continue the contract with TelXP.
Why don't we see if we can get Wade down here?
Okay.
I don't know why he isn't. See if we can get him. Maybe before you continue.
Yeah.
So you don't have to keep repeating.
Do the bankruptcies cease to exist immediately, or are they still providing service?
They're still providing service for a short time, November 15th.
Did they file bankruptcy at 8 or 9 or 13? What did they file?
I believe it was a 7. Complete
Total liquidation.
Total liquidation.
Total liquidation. No 13 involved.
No 13 involved.
I visited with XP, TelXP. They will not provide us with internet. We've been scrambling for our business.
They said they would cover everybody.
I know.
That is
I'm
disappointing.
I'm in a race right now to get our company switched over, and we don't have anybody. CenturyLink is the only thing possible we can go to out there.
Were you warned about that before?
Yeah, we was without that, and I'm afraid we don't get something in place quick that if one of their tires go down, they're not gonna fix it. You're gonna be without internet. Our dispatch system, we can't run off that with nothing. It's all automated, and so I'm getting with CenturyLink. CenturyLink was $52,700 to run a 1.5 mile fiber optic
Fiber to you.
to us, which I can't swing
Okay.
anything like that. And I was hoping this XP, but they will not give businesses anything at the moment. Which I'm shocked at.
I'm shocked at that too. That's not what I had heard.
Mhm. So I don't know, there's
That's what I
a
was-
situation that's not good in the county without internet.
I'm gonna try and call the, see if he has any information on that.
So, just a question for that. Like Kenneth
Yes.
used Valnet, remote from somewhere. Also.
Yeah,
From,
they have several towers in the county. Like
so how many other people are there, just like Jesse, that's not going to get it?
They said there's 337 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 towers that connect Aliceville, Nebo, Waverly, Westphalia, New Strong, Hansel, Fall Summit, Burlington, Gridley, and Leroy. And broken down on how many people on each one. And it was my understanding, if you're connected to that, you will still get connection. But I think we have heard something different.
You're looking at what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
in January, February with this pandemic, is it gonna flare up and a lot more kids will be sent home to school? Internet's issues there, so it's a big.
I've had several people call me that work from home,
Mhm.
that this is an issue with them.
There was some stuff out there available, but they was gonna run limits. And if you went over your mark, then they're just gonna start charging you like crazy. And us out there, we can't run with the limit. It just don't work. Valnet was very good. I mean, very great to work for, which I see why they went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Undercharging for their
There you
service.
go. Can you get connected? Yeah, I'm on.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait on his way.
What I have found so far, what I've talked to so far is explaining how Valnet Holdings has gone bankrupt and told them TelXP would be taking over the service, hopefully. And Jesse has said TelXP was not going to be able to cover him. And I find that as a surprise. Jesse?
Yeah, I don't know Jesse. Hi, I'm Doug Vanderloot, is Jesse. So, are you one of the new commissioners, or?
Will be.
Will be, okay, awesome. And Jesse, what's your last name, sir?
Knight Trucking.
Mike Trucking?
Knight. Jesse Knight with Knight Trucking.
Got it, okay. And you're currently a Valnet customer?
Correct.
And what area of the county are you at?
2 miles south of Lebo.
Okay. Okay. I'll give the new owner of TelXP, who's a guy that we've worked with for about 15 years, I'll give him a call, because he sure has not talked about dropping any towers or any plans to drop any towers at this point. So I will specifically ask what it is. And you currently have service with them. Do you know what service level you're at?
No, I don't. I know it fluctuates from 30 to 2.7. It is our
Okay.
uploads and downloads. I got downloads about 30 and the uploads 2.7. In the
Okay.
afternoon, it drops off to about a 22.
Okay.
But
So it sounds like you have a business plan. Is that right, sir?
yes. And I was informed that they was not going to be doing any businesses. They was doing residential, but they wasn't going to be doing any businesses.
That is
Okay, I will follow up with them on that. I will follow up with them on that. I can do it now, but I don't know if I get through to somebody right now or not. But, they have not made any indication. Well, I know they're doing business because they're gonna continue to work with Coffee Can, which is the fiber network, and continue to work with the school district. So yeah, I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to look into that. And just one last thing, if you will, do you know who you visited with?
No, I believe, I don't. A gal in my office visited with a gentleman. First off, it'll be via email, and then I think she calls him on the telephone.
Gotcha, okay. And would the email be from, because so he could look back at it from At Night Trucking?
Yes,
Okay, and that's KNI, right? Is that correct, sir?
that's correct.
Okay, that's, okay. Okay. Okay,
Okay. And
Do the counties around us have the same service? Or they got the same issues, or is there?
we tend to be the furthest northeast county. Their presence goes from Coffee County and then goes down from here all the way down to the furthest southeast Kansas County on the Oklahoma-Missouri border, and then they transition the same way into northeast Oklahoma
they
from that standpoint.
mostly handle rural customers in rural businesses. And along with customers like that, we also, with our internet service through them, we get what we call an E-rate return from the FCC. On all of your phones, there is a universal service fund, and that money goes to the FCC. And it gets returned as what we call an E-rate
E-rate.
to schools and libraries. So what we pay for our internet connection, a portion of that gets returned back to us to offset rural internet connections. And you said about $20,000 possible if we can't get this E-rate for the next 6 months, for the end of the year. When you file E-rate, Doug takes care of most of that, all of that for the fiber board. You file a lot of paperwork to the FCC. You gotta say who your internet provider is. This is what it's going to, this is how much it costs. And then we get a rebate. Now with us having a different internet provider, Doug will be hopefully filing paperwork and getting that $20,000 with a new filing. We don't know yet because it's the federal government. Yeah, they like their T's and I's crossed.
Yeah. And guys, with that filing that Brad's talking about with E-rate, there is a competitive bid window each year. So each year what happens is we write up bid specifications on federal forms that basically talk about the needs for the Coffee County network. I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on the forms, but basically we outline what those needs are that we have for that given year. The year runs from July 1 to June 30th. And so we write these bid documents out, then we get bids from local and national companies that want to try to get our internet business. Then based on their bid responses, we have a bid evaluation process that we have to go through and track. We evaluated the vendors and on what key points we make decisions. And then after that, the fiber board takes action. They approve the bid, the lowest responsible bid that they recommend that we take that motion. We take that, we then finish the filings to say this is the vendor we've picked, and then there's 3 or 4 other federal forms, as you can imagine with a program like this. And then we in turn make a recommendation to the county commission through our fiber board member, which is Fred Rowley. We make a recommendation typically in May, and then that becomes an action item for you all typically in either late May or early June for the coming year. So that's kind of our competitive bidding process. This last year, we had 6 competitive bids for July 1 to June 30th of next year. That money that we get from E-rate, we use to help fund other technology projects. So for example, the firewall that we use countywide has a high level maintenance contract of about $8,000 a year. We use those funds for that. We use the funds for some of our hotspots and some of our COVID response that we talked and partnered with you on. This next year, the coming year for our budget, we've got to replace those firewalls. Those firewalls, the physical boxes are about 4 years old. And to get to some of the next generation upper level speed-wise technology, we're going to need to replace those. So that's what we use that money for, is to continue to reinvest inside the Coffee Can network.
Wade just joined us. I don't know if I want to make a recommendation unless we know TelXP is going to be able to cover all of the businesses that they currently do and, homes in Coffee County. Do we want to confirm with that first before we continue?
Yeah, I keep looking down at my phone, guys. I actually sent that as a text message to start that process now, from that standpoint. I still, I think the motion could be made contingent upon that, because guys, if we were to have if we were to lose, and I don't know, Brad, have you already shared the customer count?
Yes.
Okay. Of those 337 customers, we estimate that 80 to 85% of them are home users from that standpoint. And for many of those home users, that was their only option. In other words, there weren't other choices. It's not, there really isn't a Wild Blue anymore. There's a Usenet that does some things. If you've ever been out in the country and tried to use Usenet, you know that you pay well over $100 to almost $150 a month for that level of service. People say, well, I'll just take a hotspot out there for phones. We have done several hotspots, both Verizon as well as T-Mobile, and there are lots of areas in our county. In fact, USD 245 was looking to do T-Mobile hotspots as part of this nationwide grant. And the superintendent, Russ Millward, drove the county, and there were the district, the southern part of the county, and very few spots within that area were able to take advantage of and connect the T-Mobile network. Same thing was true when Lebo Waverly did a test run as well. So guys, that's what I'm saying is without an internet service provider, and Jesse, I'm very in tune to what you're saying because, and I'm just going to be personally honest, my brother is the owner of a company called Stevens Vending in Southeast Kansas, headquartered out of Coffeyville. They're a large Valnet customer because they do what are called telemarkets or mini markets in factories throughout Southeast Kansas and Northeast Oklahoma. And a mini market, think about, you've got your vending machines, and a lot of factories would have vending machines in their break rooms. Well, vending machines are kind of going the way of just, for smaller organizations. These bigger factories that we're talking about use what's actually called a mini market. It's like a convenience store, but it is all based on self-checkout, security, scanners, uses the employee's badge, full inventory system. Anyway, Valnet is their service provider for many, I think if they're getting close to 20 of those mini marts in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. So, you know, he and I had talked because when Valnet first went out and made that announcement, he called me in a panic because he knew that we use Valnet for our service provider for our large network. So I do want to push that issue, guys. In fact, I'm kind of stubborn that way. I'm going to push that issue because there's no reason that I can think of that they would make a business decision like that.
It sounds to me like, Doug, you're gonna have to do a lot more discovery. The commission is back in session Wednesday.
Okay.
Does any decision need to be made today since there's more discovery to have to be done? Or would Wednesday be quick enough if you could do some discovery for us?
Absolutely, Wednesday's quick enough. Absolutely. Like I said, I keep looking over to see if I've got a response, but again, knowing that Wednesday is another possible meet point here, that would be great. Are there other questions that you guys have that we need to take a look at in the meantime?
Don't know enough to ask
I
questions.
can't.
I know we're using that, and T-Mobile is not the answer, because I try to use both and it don't work.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've got a text this morning from Mark Peterson. I don't know if Mark's in the room there.
Yes.
So I got a message this morning from the superintendent to give Mark a call. So I'll be talking to him, and I know he's got a couple of questions as well. So I'll follow up with him when today's commission meeting is over. Pricing wise, Brad, did you get a chance to cover that piece?
I have not, I just gave you.
Okay.
It is comparable
Yes.
to what they currently have. They have, TelXP has 4 services. Bronze, which is the lower level, is $60, which was $59.95 before. Silver is $60, gold is $100, platinum is $200, and this download speeds are 10, 20, 30, and 40. Upload speeds are 2, 5, 10, and 10. So Jesse, you probably had a gold, which would be their business plan. So the prices are comparable, almost identical to what they had before. So it's weird.
And then due to the ongoing partnership with Coffee County and with the Coffee Can Fiber Network, all county residents only get a $10 discount off of that rate. So that's an additional piece there and that's been negotiated in that agreement, that yearly agreement with the commission since we started this process. I think we're right at 15 years, I think, that we've been doing it that way. Actually, since 2000, I think. If I remember talking to Wade the other day, I thought he said the early one was 2000.
2001.
2001.
2001. Guys, without this partnership, we talked about the fact that the residents that would be hurt come the middle of November if we went to remote learning, if we were in a situation with COVID where we saw the return to remote learning the way we saw it in March of earlier this year. We don't anticipate that, but there are districts across Nemaha County, Nemaha Valley Schools had 6 staff members that were quarantined with COVID, and in turn they ended up shutting down the high school for a period of time. So, as we've worked with Lindsay Pear, who's done a ton of work for us, and been a huge help for us, as we work with Lindsay, she says, I don't want to shut down the whole school, but but just like, or a district, but just like that, you could have a situation where one building's that way. And so there would be a large number of students across the county and families that may not have service. The other thing is there's really not another business model to come in. Our business model that we have is pretty unique. Not we, they have is pretty unique, but it's a partnership with the commission and the entities in Coffee Can that make it work to provide that level of service. When we started, I gave Wade just a quick history lesson, and Fred got this at the fiber board meeting the other day. When we actually started this bid process back in 2000 to get ready for 2001, Burlington was the only city in our county that had a dial-up phone number that was 364. In other words, all the other four communities that were outside of Burlington's 364 number, in order to get dial-up internet, had to pay a long distance fee on top of paying an internet fee. So that's kind of where this whole thing started, was that we thought that was unacceptable. It was an extra cost to our citizens. And so when we went to bid for two things. One, we wanted a local exchange number in every town in Coffee County. And two, we wanted a plan to develop high-speed, what's called broadband internet across the county. So again, serving the 6 towns and serving as much of the rural area as we possibly could. Okay, so that's how kind of the 2-minute version of how we got to this point.
Back to our problem we have now is that 85% of the people business, or 15% of them are businesses. So 85% are home, and we may go back because of schools and we may not. But do we want to put 15 businesses out of business for something like this? So I think we need more information, and we're going to give you till Wednesday to get that. So, I mean, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. And I also just want to understand that we may, I mean, I understand the tough situation you're in, because I can flip that coin the other way also. So, because there won't be another service provider come in and pick up that slack. I'm very worried about that process also, of all 334. You guys know me, I'm a bulldog. I tend to not let things go. So I'm going to battle this business side hard. And like I said, Wednesday, knowing that, guys, Wednesday's a meet point, that gives me 2 days to push that issue, and I will push that issue.
And I appreciate that, because a few years ago, we spent over $2 million so everyone in this county supposedly could have internet service. Now look at the situation we're in. So we need to be working.
Well, and then, again, we spent that to build a fiber network that CenturyLink, if you remember at that time, was going to charge us over $3 million to lease for 10 years. And they were going to charge us $6 million to lease it for 20 years. And we got that lease from that standpoint that replaced the fiber network that we originally, back in 1994, built with CenturyLink in that partnership. So again, those are two, I know they both look like the same project, but they're not. They're two different projects.
Any other questions? Yes, we need more information.
Yeah,
That's
more
why-
information.
keep moving forward.
We have more discovery, and like I said, we'll be back here Wednesday, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
This was a surprise to us also.
Yeah, we'll be back in at 9 Wednesday for checks and vouchers, so.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna ask a question, and maybe it was addressed before I got here, but Doug, when you and I talked the other day, you talked about the the federal side of it, and if TelXP is not approved by the feds, what happens? What do we do here?
With the E-rate.
With the E-rate?
Yeah, what would, if TelXP is not approved, then what would happen? And there's no reason they wouldn't be approved, because almost I've not ever heard of a business not being approved way, but if that were to happen, what we would see is that our November to June, so you prorate our E-rate, and basically July, August, September, October, those 4 months, we'd see reimbursement for, and then November to June would be entirely the cost of the entities, of the 6 entities within Coffee Can, to pay that full amount. And they pay that amount now. Way we pay a monthly bill, it gets divided 6 ways between the county entities. And then what happens is, as soon as our year closes on June 30th, the very early week in July, I file it for our reimbursement for that previous year. So it's not like we wouldn't make money. It's not like we wouldn't make our budget. We just quit paying our bills, because that's not how it works. It's just, we would only get roughly 1/3 of our normal reimbursement. And then what would happen is, in that January, February timeframe, then we would be rebidding, which we are going to anyway. We made that decision. We would be rebidding our E-rate service for the coming July 1 to June 30th. And we would be looking for a vendor who would provide us internet service and meet the guidelines of the federal program. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait to hear more Wednesday.
All right.
All we can do.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Badger, I will, and I appreciate you bringing them up, Charlie, because unfortunately I helped with most of my able to be there with you.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Morning, Wade.
Morning.
Darren Daughtry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think I've met most of you, but not everybody. I'm Darren Doherty, Coffee County Library Administrator. The reason that I'm here is, when we were asked to submit future projects, so we needed some support with CARES money. At the time, I had 3 different items. After talking to my library directors, we've decided that we'd still like to get we'd like to still ask for the $7,280 in funds, but the 3 items have changed a little bit. One of the items, instead of requesting tablets, we're asking for $2,400 that would go for hand sanitizer stations. We've chosen 3 different types. There's a $200 or $198 for the standing or freestanding ones. Then there's $60 for the wall mount, and then another $60 for ones that are table mounted. And right now, we've been addressing other issues with COVID, or due to COVID, that we're spending our money that we've already had budgeted, and that was we're replacing our water fountains with water bottle stations instead. So we've already committed that money to addressing one issue with sanitizing, and then we'd like to go ahead and try to address this with the $2,400 for the hand sanitizing stations.
Do you want me to go for all three, or do you want me to go one at a time, or how do you want? As far as you want me to present the other two items right now too?
I'd suggest all three of them.
Do all three.
Is 2,400 part of the 7,280?
Yes, it is.
So you're not asking for more money, you're just
I mean,
buying different items from what you.
it'll be different items for,
What you originally.
the other two things are, one of them will be about the same, but it'll just be a different approach. So, the other two items, we've, Lebo and Waverly, we've already used CARES Act money from the library or state library system to purchase, lockers. They're electronic, so we can change the PIN number. We're gonna have those outside of they're actually already outside of Waverly and Lebo right now. Burlington and New Strong is considering getting, a couple too. If we do New Strong, it would actually go, I'm trying to make arrangements with Evergy to see if we could possibly put them there at the Eisenhower training or Eisenhower Center, and then our courier would go and put the books after they request the books to be checked out. We would check them out and then put them there. We're looking at that, or we possibly might look at Aliceville or Jacobs Creek. That's a possibility, but we've got some concerns with security and things like that. But with one of our desires is to go ahead and try to increase our patronage to Evergy, as far as, because we got a lot of customers that potential customers that might not use us right now. And this also allows us to have people check out or pick up books after hours, which during the during this year, we've had a lot of people using our curbside service, and it's actually helped, or we're changing ways a little bit of how we're doing our business. And then the last item, originally we were, I was going to ask for 2 laptops to be used by central office employees if they have to work from home. I used money I've already used capital expenditure money from our account to go ahead and address those. So for that 2,800, what I would like to request it for is, there's a service called Hoopla and Sunflower that allows digital access to books, audios. We already spend $8,000 a year in our regular budget, but our usage has gone up, and we're planning to, if we could get another 2,800, that would help out. The good thing is that 2,800 does not, if we spend it and purchase the 2,800, it doesn't die on December 31st. We get access still for the next year. So, and we've also already, if we have any materials budget left, we're going to put money toward that area too, because even though we're trying our best to get as much physical collection, this is something that our patrons could still ask for after the year, and it's something that all of our Coffee County Library patrons can have access to. So that's the summary of the items that we're requesting.
Is this, we have a regular board, if you will, or committee, and have you presented this to them as well?
I presented it to them and I notified them what I was planning to do, and there wasn't any objection.
In my opinion, if they don't have an objection, I guess I don't have one either.
Okay.
So is this what you've requested, or is this above and beyond?
He requested these new purchases from us, and I'm only covering reimbursements with the COVID money. And this is where I talked to you guys, and you guys said we have plenty of money to cover anything anybody wants. Tell them to come in. So Darren's in. that's COVID related.
This
And
is,
if I covered this on the grant, I couldn't pay for his full service. It would have to end December 31st, because that's when the grant is done, so.
well, this says new money request, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, this is not money that's in our regular
This is new
budget.
money request, and the one item you brought up was the setting up a location at Aliceville or Jacobs Creek. That's $2,000, that middle one is $2,000, correct?
Right, it was 2,080.
Yeah.
And
And 24, 28, 2,000, okay.
yes. Right now, I'm not 100% sure if we're looking at Aliceville and Jacobs Creek, but this money, this would probably go toward addressing the, addressing the lockers for Burlington and then New Strong if we can go to Evergy.
And Darren, you had requested 7280 from the CARES Act, but if you need to go above or less than that, it's okay. I mean, this will be county funds now.
I've got, we still got a good handle on our current budget, so I am able to go ahead and address those issues with that. And then anything that we have left over with our current budget, we normally transfer that over to our capital expenditure, which I do have a $80,000 roof that we'll probably have to address next year with Burlington. So, but we've got, that's something that, that we address each year as far as our capital expenditure, 10%. Anything up to 10% gets transferred over to that account.
I guess I'm just a little bit confused, because you've already requested the 7280, right? And the committee has approved it?
No,
No, they have not approved it.
I am paying for anything that county entities have already purchased. I'm reimbursing them,
Okay.
but I didn't have enough in the fund to cover wish list items. And that's when I came to the commission and you guys said, like what Darrell did, you guys said, anybody who has wish list items that they need that are COVID related, tell them to come in. So that's why Darren's in. So in essence, he didn't get approved.
Okay, okay. I'm with you. I do know that there's still COVID money out there, but I don't know what it's specified for. Whether it's for small businesses or what it's for. I know there's still some that needs to be spent before the end of the year.
Not my grant. My grant's pretty much done.
And we did receive 4,000 from the Kansas State Library from the library CARES Act. And we've already purchased items related or from that fund. And if there's a question as if that all the funds could not be approved, then I've got methods of trying to address the hoopla issue or the sunflower. And it's the other two that would be helpful if we could go ahead and get some assistance.
But the hoopla issue will continue beyond the end of the year. I mean,
It will. That's something
that could be good for everyone for quite a while.
Right.
So that wouldn't be one I would want to take off.
Okay.
If I was taking them off, that's not the one I would want to go for.
Well, then.
But I personally, I think our libraries do a fantastic job, and I think, you know, if we can help them, I'm all for it.
To me, all three of these items are very legitimately requests. The sanitizers, we know how important it is. The 2 laptops where they could do work at home if need be. The lock boxes, you know, I'm not real sure on that because I'm not involved in all that, so.
We've actually had a very positive reaction over at Lebo. We've had a lot of usage just in the 2 weeks that they've been there, and we believe that Waverly's going to have a lot of it. It allows us to have the after hours service.
It's
that we
sitting
would-
right there south of the Main Street, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay, I've seen that sitting there when I was over there at some, to events.
okay.
Your two laptops,
The laptops I purchased,
you have 6 libraries,
Right.
but you don't anticipate all 6 of them would have to be closed down at one time, is that correct?
at this time, no. The two laptops, like I said, I actually have purchased those already with our money, but those for our two central office, personnel, Darcy Shedd and, Margaret Hine, who they do stuff for all 6 branches.
Okay.
They're doing they're doing human resources and material processing.
Okay, I was wondering why you were looking at 2 instead of 6.
Right.
Okay.
As far as the library directors, I'm gonna address those, next year with capital expenditure and get, new laptops for the directors, but they have laptops right now.
Anybody else got a question?
Well, these funds that Amber still have to disperse that the committee hasn't taken action on, can those funds take care of this?
As far as that's Amber,
Amber's step.
She's saying her money, all money that out of the 1.7 million we got is spent.
It is totally dedicated now?
It's totally dedicated.
Because last week it wasn't.
So this is above and beyond. This is basically becoming out of taxpayer dollars.
what she explained to me was that this was originally, the committee said, yes, we could do this, but then the focus on the CARES was actually for the the local businesses, and that's where they were focusing the money on that instead.
This last week, if I understood right, we still had $75,000 or $80,000 available on the business side.
And that
No,
I don't
we have
know.
enough applicants that money is, if they're all approved. it's-
So the 1.7 million is all dedicated out now. Okay.
And the counties is all allotted, so this is beyond the county's part of it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't go into the library much in Leroy, but I know how many cars are sitting out front. I know how much it's used and the value to the county. So I don't know exactly where we pull these funds from. Because I think it's something we need to take a serious look at.
There's community improvement, there's capital improvement.
To me, community, no. To me, it probably should come out of community.
I think that amount, we need to bring it out of community improvement. Because it's not really equipment, because it's not all equipment. So I think it
So what's the total?
72.
72,
7280,
7280.
We need to make that a motion to approve 7,280 to the Coffee County Library for requested items.
I don't know exactly how you're gonna write that motion, but I'd so move.
I didn't insert the word COVID in there, COVID requested.
COVID request, purchase sanitation devices, lockers, and laptops. Would be the motion. Donna's moved, is that correct?
Yes.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Any second? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed by vote.
Only thing that I would add is, it's not the laptops or not, it's Hoopla.
I apologize.
That's,
I remember you saying that, but.
That's all right.
Sometimes it gets to be a mouthful to make a motion. so.
I understand. I do that every time at the library board, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
We're running a little bit behind. Would we still like to take a break?
I'm
Everybody's fine?
I'm fine.
All right, everybody's fine, so that being said, Wayne, you're up.
Okay. Catch you up.
Morning.
Yeah, kept it short and sweet.
We'll see if I can do the same.
We've already lost 7 minutes, so you're free.
If I can put you back on schedule. That's a tough act to follow anyway. All right, no road permits, no zoning permits. We did have a zoning hearing here last week. Landfill, fall cleanup, totals are in. Don't have any comparables. We'll go back to some next week if you'd like. The next one would be the motion. Basically, what we have is current employee that would be moving from one work group to the next, to another work group to fill the vacancy. So as we've advertised, we'd like to move Jeff Clarkson over from the mowing group to the asphalt crew. And that's the motion that you have before you.
I think I have that motion.
Well, I question. You just shift the person
It's
around.
under 10, Bob.
Oh, yeah, it's back in the,
The 10 o'clock.
Oh, way back.
no, no,
Okay, it's been, okay.
there's normally not anything back there.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not a big deal, but for me, if you're just moving one person from one department to another, does there actually have to be an emotion? This is just a legal question, I guess.
You know, I don't know on that one
I
because.
mean, it's your prerogative. If you want to move a guy from mowing ditches to laying asphalt, you can, I would assume.
And they're the same position. I mean, it's the same,
You're not changing his wage, and you're not adding anybody, so.
can I ask Denise, what do you think, Denise, on that one?
I think the only time it matters is when it changes the cost center that they're being moved from.
Okay. So they're in the same position per se, but just changes work groups.
And again, it doesn't matter to me. I was just curious as to why it would have to be that way.
Now, doesn't happen too often, so I think that's why I was just covering my bases.
Yeah.
But, so how would you like to handle that? Is there any need for a
Well,
CP2 or?
Do you have any thoughts on that, Wade? Legal thoughts? I mean, I agree. I think it's probably a problem.
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't see it as an issue, but I'd like to see what the policy amendment says, if there's a specific provision, because if there is, then it needs to be followed. I can't remember.
I personally think it's good to have it documented in the minutes, even though it may or may not be necessary.
Mhm.
They don't come up that often, and once a year, or maybe not even that often. But you do have a change in position,
Right.
change in responsibility.
And most of those times have been like wage changes of some sort where they move from one work group
Wage
to another, but there's no wage change on this one.
No, I'm just curious.
I agree with Don, I guess. It doesn't hurt to do it this way because if you go back and look, what's this person's really, what is their really title? Then we have what it is now.
All right, I understand. I mean,
Wouldn't be a bad idea to go back to the policy at some point. I'd get guidance later.
I don't want to add more work. I was just curious. This is why that had to be that way. So we have a motion 2020-56, move to review and approve the CP2 for Jeff Clarkson, equipment operator, full-time, transferring positions as equipment operator from the same seeding mowing crew, the asphalt crew with the same department, subject to regular IPP wage classification, remain the same at MB3 with a wage of $18.06 per hour, effective 11/1/2020.
I'll make the motion.
Tim has moved, need a second. I'll do that. Tom will do that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5.
Okay, the next one would be construction zone. As you know, we're working the snow activities, or maybe you didn't know, but we are working the snow activities. We had a couple trucks actually ready for this weekend, but as we see, the snow came in this morning. So as we are treating all the roads, we're finding actually with the temperatures, ground temperatures and such, that it is breaking already. But we'll just wait and see how the rest of the day basically unfolds, see how much snow we actually get, see if we're actually plowing snow or not. But it was slick this morning, in different locations, definitely like on 75 where I was coming in, you know, there was vehicles off the road. But, we did close also Embankment Road at this point, and so Embankment Road is closed. The rest of the construction activities, as weather basically changes from the snow to conditions where we can actually do some additional work, we'll be finishing the installation of the precast at 10th and Native. And what we're doing there is putting the wings on at this point. We are going to be also working on the ditching, patching at this point. Chip seal, fog seal is complete as per our 2020 construction plans, except for up Tomwa. That's the only location we did not put the chip seal on or fog seal at this point. Striping has also been completed. That includes that extra section of Old Highway 50, but according to the contract, the striping has been complete, and we should be getting a pay voucher here in the next week or so. And so, let's see, Matthias Lake, as I say, we're installing that one structure, installing the wings. Also, we're on Oxen. We're still doing the excavation for the ditching over on Oxen. So that's the update on Matthias. That's all I have for construction zone. So, did I get you back on the line? Close. All right.
Anybody have any questions for Wayne?
All right.
That was quick. That's probably a record for Wayne.
Okay. Well, I'm always one to break records, so.
Have a good one.
Good and bad. Thank you very much.
Take a break.
Sure. Take a break. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back to Randy. I went ahead and took care of the question I had for you this morning. We went ahead.
Yeah. When it's my time, I've got more information on that. So.
Well, we already approved and.
No, I know, but it's.
Well, you can still share with us.
Later down the road, there's an answer.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we might all about this. You know. Well, you know, all kinds of, I guess.
Well, the weather update still don't look any better outside.
No, it's still snowing. What we saying with them?
We're still getting moisture.
Yeah.
Really? I heard it, I just heard it was controversial.
So does that mean we'll have 26 snows this year?
Let's hope not.
You know, that's an old saying.
I don't mind a little snow as long as we don't get ice. You know, 58, 75, man, they were both slick snow. I don't think anything has been wrong. I don't think they dropped any salt. They were loading salt trucks up there, out there at the junction. I heard them.
I'm at one state on 75.
I did the trucks.
I'm guessing about the airport where I'm at.
Take 58.
Why they said what they said?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
We'll have that.
I'll get on that one.
You started this.
Okay, thank you.
I got to the point I couldn't even get anything done on Hughes that during, April and May, when all the kids were on it. You just couldn't get nothing done,
You gotta use that third bar
Yeah.
there at Waverly.
because I couldn't even get ValNet, because I'm down in a valley and couldn't reach the,
We got internet.
yep.
We got internet through cellular.
Brad, Rural Water, we've got some other company that put a couple deals on some of our towers. Another company.
There, I don't know who, you know, they didn't have to advertise through the county, you know. If you can see a tower, usually there's somebody on there.
I don't know, but there's some other, I can't think of the name. I could, maybe it's Big Tree or something like that.
Probably Mercury, Bob.
Mercury. Yeah, Mercury, that's what it is. Mercury, buddy.
Have you? They're more residential than, they're residential and, you know, there's a few people along 50 highway that has Mercury.
I just know are others out there.
Leroy Co-op's got a lot of stuff on top of their concretes, but I don't know what they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Through this agreement, we get a county residents and businesses get that $10 discount. And we use, and since they're our provider, that's for the.
$10 doesn't help.
I agree. But I just talked to Doug, he talked to Nick, we won't get it in writing yet.
It's going pretty good.
He'll be here Wednesday. I don't follow the road that nuts. They will
It
go.
is, not at all.
Yeah.
I assume.
You see it running, I'll be for it.
58 times 58, 75.
We get something more.
75 wasn't bad, you know, but it gets the traffic
Yeah, we
on
need to get
it.
it worked out.
It kind of beats it down.
It sounds like Doug is gonna be pretty aggressive on his cover side.
Yeah, he's been real good.
I'm sorry?
He's been real good about digging stuff.
Sound like he's really gonna get aggressive.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Looks like we're back and ready for Randy.
Slade's gonna take a look at this, but,
Do we need to wait for him to be back? I
well,
assume he was coming back.
yeah, he said he had to make a stop along the way.
Just about the lake and trying to, get approval to hire a permanent part-time position to fill that vacancy we had. Because this will kind of lead into the second part of what I was gonna visit with you about. And so I did draw up a motion. I was just gonna wait, looked at it temporarily. You know, take a look at it, too.
You're still running the same hours, Randy, from 7 to 7. You're running 7 to 7?
Well, with the reduced hours, now we're just kind of doing the sunrise to sunset thing, because it falls within that gap, and it seems to be working out. On a lot of days with the winds we've been having having to close early.
Our share of wind, man.
We have, and we did have an incident out the lake here a couple of weeks ago. Young man with a boat, probably wasn't experienced like he should have been on one of those days that was just borderline, you know, on the wind, our wind restrictions. And I think some issues with his boat and not having familiarization, and he ended up swamping his boat basically, and water temperatures were about 70 degrees. So it got a little, we had 3-foot waves, and it got a little hairy for a while, but we had water rescue come out along with our lake people, and we was able to get him located where he was at and get him safely back to shore. And then we went back out the next day and retrieved his boat. It had drifted up pretty close to one of the banks along in the lake. And so we were able to hook onto it and slowly pull it back and take one of the plugs out and get his boat. It was an older boat and stuff. So the young man was very appreciative of everything everybody did. He's from Emporia, and he admitted he probably needed to get some more lessons on how to boat, especially during rough weather. But what that brings us to is I'd like to get permission from the commission to go ahead and advertise to hire a permanent part-time position to fill that vacancy we had at the beginning of the summer with the COVID stuff. We didn't fill that position, and we made it through the summer. It worked pretty good. We didn't end up having to hire, of course, any temporaries. And so we got through it, but now we're seeing the effects of it by our current part-time employees out there. Their vacation time, they've accrued vacation time, and it's right up to that, and some of them are over that max that you can accumulate. And at the first of the year, they're going to lose that. And so we've seen the secondary effects by not hiring somebody. And I think I've got a solution for it when we get to that part, but I'll go ahead and pass this motion to you and just so you can look at until Wade gets back. He did preliminarily look at it, and it's not anything that required a whole lot of.
You think there's part-time help, they do accrue vacation time?
They do.
How do you prorate that out?
Well, if the county policy.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, the county policy lets them accumulate it at, I think it's like a half-time rate versus a full-time rate. And they can accumulate the maximums just like full-time. and stuff, but they do, with them being permanent positions, the county does pay sick, vacation, the traditional benefits. We do offer the insurance as well at a prorated amount, and they can pay it at a different amount, offset it, so.
Does that need as-to form on that?
I don't know, that's the reason I wanted to run it past Wade first before I actually make it a formal motion to you guys and stuff, if there needs to be anything added to it. As to form, where would that go?
With the approval of the county attorney as-to form.
Oh, I see. I'm used to the red pen. Doug Whitman used to do that to me all the time on stuff. He had a red pencil he always kept.
You have more than one.
Yes, he did. I think I wore more than one or two out on. We have a few slide offs this morning, about a dozen. Nothing major, but the roads it's raining, it's snowing heavier now, so we're kind of in that band apparently to get quite a bit. But then the weather temperature is supposed to come right back up.
Won't stay around long.
It'll be gone. So,
Then you'll have a more formal job announcement that covers all the.
yes, what we'll do is we'll do the advertisement per the county's guidelines for it to go in the newspaper, as well as we'll put it on our webpage and stuff with the job description and the outline of big applications.
And the one thing I don't see having here is the pay. Is that something?
Does that need to go in the motion? I do put it in the advertisement, what pay is, what the beginning rate of pay is. And then depending on qualifications, always put that statement. So, pretty.
Wouldn't that be in the motion, when it brings motion to hire, wouldn't all that be in the motion of what rates in?
With the recommendation on who to hire, yeah.
The only wild card is at some point in the next several weeks or month, I anticipate we'll have information from our compensation study. And I don't know if that impacts things at all, but that's the only reason I mentioned that.
Preliminarily, I met with her, it does impact what the pay rates are. It does, at least preliminarily, what she had anyway, it does change the rate of pay some.
So to hire somebody, at least to advertise, I don't think it makes much of a difference right now, but I think that's something that will have to be addressed probably all across the board when that executive summary comes out.
So for now, before I do the advertisement, I'll run the advertisement by you too. And that way, maybe I can do some wording on the rate of pay or something. You know, to address that concern. I don't know how to word it necessarily, but I'd be able to look up some wording, sure, and stuff, so.
So it's okay how it's written for now?
Outside of some of the edits.
Some of my, okay, so that's what we came up with.
So, need a motion to move to, on the recommendation of Coffee County Lake Director, to advertise and hire one permanent part-time lake patrol lieutenant to fill a vacancy. Applications will be taken till the position is filled and salary based on.
Salary would be based on
Qualifications.
the qualifications and what the current pay will be, and I'll put that actually in the job description and the advertisement as well.
So moved.
Don moved. Tom is seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
The only other thing I'm working with Wade on, and we've got some more work to do on it, but I'm just throwing this out there for some food for thought. The lake guys have approached me about their vacation time because a lot of them are maxed out or on the verge of it. And what they've asked me is if the county would consider, so like today, with the winds and the weather, we may close the lake and they may go home at 1 p.m. However, they were scheduled to work like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. What they would like to do is fill in that void where they were scheduled for, say, 12 hours and they only ended up getting 8 hours. They would like to be able to take some of their vacation hours to fill in that gap. Does that?
I get it.
Yeah, and that way, and I think it makes sense because it saves the county money. Because if they take a full vacation day with a limited number of people, we not only are paying them their vacation day, but then we're gonna have to pay somebody to come in and fill their position because we have to have 2 people at the lake at all times. So it actually saves us money. And right now the budget is okay to handle that because we're budgeted for these hours. I throw that out there for consideration, but it's not in our policy manual. I've gone through anyway preliminarily and looked, and I don't find anything in our policy manual that addresses this topic. So I know we've been talking about it and stuff, but I don't have an official proposal to bring the commission at this time. I need to get with Wade more, and so Wade and I can talk about it, but I wanted to throw that out there for food for thought.
I give my guys vacation time and they're allowed to use it on inclement weather days. So they're allowed to use it however they wish. I mean, if it's to make an 8-hour day out of a 0-hour day, that's what they can do.
Yep. And this is the same concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we do our scheduling, we do our schedule, we schedule our people out and we make sure they get, about 100 hours to 115 hours. But at the end of the day, especially this time of year, we start closing a lot. Those hours shrink down and the paychecks get a lot smaller. And so this would be a way to offset that. I don't know if there's something we need to put in our policy manual before we formally address it or how to handle that. And I know I brought it up to Wade and we've been talking about it and researching it. But they asked me again, I told them I'd just bring it up today and that way throw it out there for preliminary discussion. Any thoughts on it, Wade, on what you're thinking?
Well,
I know you've been working on it.
well, when we get to roundtable, I was gonna bring up a similar question, but maybe taking a different approach. If you just wanna maybe stick around until we get to roundtable, because I've actually got page 26
Right.
and 27 of the policy manual
Right.
to address some concerns or questions or thoughts regarding vacation leave, especially this calendar year.
Right. Okay. Yep, I'll just stick around then for roundtable and stuff, because I know we've been working on it because it's a topic that I think just not only.
One wouldn't have a problem with it.
Right.
I wouldn't.
It's one of those that we're budgeted for, and so.
It's in your budget. That's what they choose to do with their vacation time. That's their prerogative.
Right. I did get on the sheriff's side of things and with the study, I did get an email late Friday, I think it was Friday, and Amber probably is a better person to address this on getting denied our architecture fees for covering under COVID.
I figured that was coming.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody got you
I didn't see it.
an email. It looks like it just went to Wade and I, and it came in from Courtney, I guess. Amber forwarded it out to us, and I just want to make sure you got it. It looks like they denied it. I guess it looked like to me, and Amber would be a better person to probably address it, and you got it, Wade, if you want it.
You want it again? You go, Tom. Looks like since we can't, according to them, we would have to have the study and the funds allocated and done by the end of the year in order for them to consider it. So it was a denial at this point.
Well, and we had that discussion, I believe, if there was a round two, that we would.
Right.
And add on that
We
one.
could come back and add it, so I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that. And, I think that's all I got. Dawn, I will let you know that, and if you're interested, started working on that Neosho City Cemetery issue and started doing some research. And
I haven't asked you about that for some time, but it is, you're talking about the cemetery out there where
Yeah.
the Parliament place is.
Yeah, we got with the engineer's office and actually GPS some of the, the long and latitudes, and I started working on some of the statutes that address it, that I've learned a lot. It's pretty complicated. So I'm actually putting a book together for the commission and for Wade and trying to see, but there's not going to be an easy solution.
I haven't talked to Ben Spencer for some time. Last time I talked to him, they even aware that there was some discovery going on. How quick it was gonna take place, I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, we met with
He
him.
understood that, so.
We met with him here a couple of weeks ago and went out there and we took some pictures. There's some pictures in here. I'll leave this with you if you want to look at it. If you haven't been out there, there's some. It's
25 years with him.
It's sad. There's some headstones out there of children that it's grown up and it's not a formal cemetery as in what a traditional cemetery we'd expect. The trees have grown up and some of the headstones have fallen apart. And one part of the headstone's on one side of a tree and the other part's on another side of the tree. It's pretty sad. It got to me when I was out there morally. It just bothered me that it is what it is right now. But as to whose obligation or what should be done, I don't know. It's very complicated under the statutes that if you want to start messing with a cemetery, you got to have an archaeologist and you got to apply for a permit basically to the State Historical Society, state of Kansas, to get a permit to start. And basically you got to start exhuming and doing things. And
Is there any documents on how many burial sites are on?
no official documents that I've been able to find. There's just the newspaper articles that are in there that talks about the known people that are buried there, and most of them are children. A couple were young adults, and then one was an adult, like in their 40s, I think, and stuff. And from what I read, it was a city that was trying to get established out here on Native Road and 58 area. But because of logistics and the city of Leroy had gotten a foothold in Burlington, that it just kind of died and it's just basically family members left living there. It's really interesting reading. I went down to the museum as well. And it was a city that tried to get foothold, but some kind of illness or disease came through that community, the family, and a lot of the babies died.
It'd be the same as that Splitter Cemetery where
Yes.
got the romantic fever or whatever it was.
I think so.
But it's been Slichter Cemetery is
Very well maintained.
So I
And
wonder if, I forget her name, Erin.
that's who I've been talking to, Erin
Okay.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Yes, Erin's helping me with it, and so she's very intrigued by it as well, trying to find out.
Well, it would be, I mean, if there's room, that cemetery there was funds available to do, so move from there to there.
Yeah, from what I'm reading,
Because isn't this on private property? right
it
now?
is. And they bought the property
Yeah,
with,
Sydney.
yeah, Sydney, that's it. I couldn't think of her name. She's done, a lot of the research came from her. She actually,
Tell me about it.
yeah, it's very interesting.
A lot of the trees
History.
there are 50+ years old.
Yeah,
Longer.
I've been starting to study on how to try to maybe clean the headstones and stuff to figure out who the exact names on the headstones. And I'm getting with Brenda Futrell. If any of you guys know Brenda, she's started doing some research
No kidding.
on it too, on the solution you can use to clean the headstones. And I talked to Ben about if he would let me maybe come out there and try cleaning off some of the headstones that we can see to confirm names. And then maybe that'll lead us, because there's no real archives on it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of kids and young adults at Slichter as well.
Yeah.
There's still a burial at the Slicker Cemetery, 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
There's still some activity there.
Yeah. And then I didn't know the cemetery right south of town is a private cemetery that is kind of on them to mow and maintain. Otherwise, the cemeteries fall within the townships. And the townships have cemetery boards, the way I understand it, and they're responsible for maintaining them. Some of the cemetery. It's interesting trying to figure this all out and stuff. So we started working on it anyway, and we'll try to keep everybody up to date. But I just felt like when I went out there and saw those headstones and learned, you know, those were somebody's babies, and I think something has to be done to clean it up, whether it's volunteers or some, I don't know what the answer is.
Well, hopefully Aaron can help find that out.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's really good to work with on that. And I'm forwarding stuff onto her as well, anything I get. And
she is an asset to that.
She is. She was trying to explain to me how to go back through the archives, the old newspapers on the, what do you call that, microfilm or whatever. And so it's going to take some time, but we're going to keep working on it. But I just want to let you know, we hadn't forgot about it. We actually had a good day the other day. And
I had talked to Ben for a long time.
And we talked to Ben, and he was going to be home. And so the engineer's office, Kenny Roney, and I can't remember the other gal's name, they came out and GPSed those headstones so we could plot them and everything, so we can try to figure out a solution maybe.
I don't need to take that. I've looked at it.
Okay. I didn't know if you had what information you did or didn't have. And so we thought we'd start putting a manual together, and that way. Come up with
Want this back?
Yeah, I can make copies too at any time.
I'm interested.
It is, it's very interesting. It is interesting. And stuff. I haven't got it up to you yet.
Have you been able to find any relatives?
Don would probably be better person.
I'd have Steve. I didn't look at the names if they ever.
Davis?
There's people in Leroy would probably recognize some of the, no older than I am, but would recognize some of the names, I'm sure.
I know you had started doing some research on it too, and with the city, I'm assuming some of the people that lived there probably migrated out to Leroy or Burlington, according to the newspaper articles, because these two towns were really starting to thrive.
Slichter isn't that far from there, so.
It really isn't.
Wouldn't be surprising to find some relatives there.
And then the interesting part, I'm going to talk to Carrie Trossel too, because Crandall Cemetery, you know, is just south of there about a mile. And it's a private cemetery. I know Carrie Trossel maintains it and mows it and stuff. And there's some, I'm going to go down and look at those headstones as well. I imagine it was something that probably swept the area and stuff to see, but there ought to be, Carrie pretty up to date on the Crandall side of things anyway.
The Crandall Cemetery's probably got 200 or 300 sites in it.
A lot.
And it is well maintained.
Yes, Carrie does a very good job of making sure it stays mowed and around it and everything. Troy Rogers is buried out there, a deputy of mine. He got permission to be buried. The family got permission. He's buried out there. So, and it's just hop, skip, and jump from my house. So we go visit it occasionally. So, but anyway, we're going to keep working on this. And
just to go back to the COVID architectural side of things, I got the email and I'm putting together a response on behalf of the county because I disagree. The only problem is I don't get to make that decision, but I'm doing my research. I've got the Federal CARES Act printed off, what they're basing their denial on. I've got the administrative regs from the U.S. Department of Treasury, all their frequently asked questions, and then I'm going to submit a response on behalf of the county. I think it fits. I understand the differentiation between the architectural renderings and what they recommend, and then the purchase of the equipment that is recommended within the architectural range, which deals with HVAC, air handlers, air purification units, all those kind of things, but my position is, how do you know what you need? Because if not, you could have just haphazardly said, well, we need all these things, and it's a pretty intricate system here, and we have blueprints and where the recommendations for different types of, I don't even know what you call them, but different things that get placed within the air handling units, within the ductwork, those kind of things. The people who know what's required are the engineers who can review and make those determinations. So that's my, we still may be overridden, but I'm gonna put together a response that I think the architectural services should be covered, but I don't get to make that decision.
We'll appreciate you putting that together and we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with the CARES Act to know how to do it or anything. I agree with you, Wade. I mean, how do you know what you need until somebody tells you what you need? They need to be qualified people, so I agree with you. So, but
Thank you.
I'm done. I'm out of here. Yeah, I know my phone's ringing. I hear it.
Well, that being said, we're ready for Tasha in court.
Go ahead.
You have copies?
Hey, what's up?
I gave one, did you make copies for everybody, Don? Or do you need me to?
Is it?
The radio stuff, the motion.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it.
So it's under the 1045.
Needs to say, and approval of county attorney at the form since we're waiving a policy.
Okay.
Have you seen this way? This kind of number?
So basically, in the communications meeting the other day, we were listening about the consulates that weren't in the contract, but we got kind of a solution that I think we need to work on anyway. We've got a Homeland Security consulate that's going to be new. We've also got a fairly new system that's AES already, which is something that we need to have to continue with the encryption that we're using going forward. So we've got two new ones. We've got two that are down currently and one that's intermittently going down. So what we'd like to do is replace those two that are completely dead and the one that we can't really count on. So the three consulates would then give us a total of 5 that we could use. Then theoretically, if it comes to it, if we need to, we can budget for the 6th consulate.
3 is what you have in there.
The 2 that are down, and
You got 3 in there, $4,824 a piece.
right, right.
And these are items that down the road, we do something different with the jail dispatch and all that can be moved.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's
Yeah,
not,
it's
it's
all
something
equipment
that's
that's
needed,
not going
but no
away.
matter what happens, it's something that's needed at the present time.
Right. Right now, we're down 2 and we're intermittently down on
So you're basically down 3. If you have one that only works at
Can't
occasion,
count
you're down 3.
Right, right.
Anybody have questions?
We have a motion that you want us to change a little bit.
I was just letting Wade finish, read it through it, make sure he didn't
Okay.
do something. Just need to come with a number. Are we good?
Motion, the guys back.
I think the positive thing that helps too is the county, you know, in looking at the jail study and the sheriff's office and communications moves, but as well to have a backup ability, because currently our only backup, if our communications here went down for some reason, is the command bus, and it's aging out. It's, I mean, it's filled our needs and we make it work. But in the grand scheme, it would be nice to be able to maintain like a bare bones backup communication center. So if one went down, you would have a backup to go to. And so that they're in two different locations. We kind of went down that road with our mitigation and talking about after the Eureka tornado happened the second time and the first time, but what would we do as a county if the courthouse got hit? And that's what prompted us to put our backup network system and everything up at the JSP. It has like a complete backup of our computer systems and everything, that we could make the JSP work as a temporary courthouse. But communications isn't that easy to move like we can move other offices. So I think in the grand scheme, it will help us get to that point. That's just my 2 cents.
So the waiver of the purchasing policy, as this is a single source vendor, this is, and I seem to recall the county going to Motorola before on certain things, so this is not unique to this. Outside of adding the approval by the, that's the form by county attorney. If the board determines that it's necessary and it needs to happen, that's your decision. But as to everything else, the purchasing policy would be the area where I need to change.
Further discussion?
No.
Okay, following the recommendation of the Emergency Services Group and the county attorney, and upon approval of the county attorney as to form, move to waive purchasing policy as to competitive bidding for good cause, said cause being that the vendor is a single source supplier, and to approve the quote from Motorola Solutions to purchase 3 APX consulates for the county radio system, replacing 2 radios that are inoperable and 1 that has intermittent issues for $21,835.20, and to authorize and direct the CCSO dispatch supervisor to sign all associated documents. Funds to come from the equipment reserve fund.
Would you read the first sentence again? Read the first sentence again.
Was there a problem?
Well, I think you repeated yourself.
Did I?
Yeah. I think all I need to say is Emergency Service Group and approval of county attorney as to form.
That's what he said.
I thought you said Service Group and county attorney, and then you went on and said something about county attorney's form.
I said upon the recommendation of the Emergency Services Group and upon the approval as to form, of the county attorney as to form, move to waive the purchasing policy.
All right, I just misunderstood.
I think that's what I said.
Okay.
I think.
All right, I'm okay.
I don't know if it's on video.
Not an issue.
Make up a hearing.
It's not an issue.
Don has moved.
All second.
Tim has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Interesting.
Well, I guess that concludes the agenda.
Amber had some things.
Oh, Amber had something, that's right, she was coming in with.
Question, thought you had double repeated yourself twice, I thought you got some of that out.
Oh, yeah, I may have. I think so.
They've been awarded to.
I guess Amber's got something she wishes to bring to us. I guess we can start the round table. If you wanted to. Nope, never mind, there she is. You had something for us?
I thought it was gonna be on the back. Both possibly, I guess. No, it's this one. Sorry, I was on a web call, or web conference. It was on conference, sometimes. Yeah.
That's it for me.
Oh, here it was. I just have one business that needs an MOA signed this week.
Okay. So that's in this one motion for time out having. Okay. So we'll go through it first. Motion 2020 Coronavirus Relief Fund Memorandum Agreement Round 3 upon the recommendation of the interim emergency management director and with approval from the Coronavirus Relief Task Force, move to authorize the director chairman to sign the memorandums of agreement between Coffee County and approved recipients of the Coronavirus Relief Task Force grant funds. Those recipients are Amy Lira, Time Out Tavern.
We need them out in that.
You have an amount?
We didn't put the amount on any of the others.
Oh, okay. We're given.
Pardon me?
I'll recuse myself.
Okay.
We did see a printout sheet with the dollars on it.
Yes, you did have a printout sheet on one.
So we don't have dollars on this one, even though it may not be, need to be in the motion. How many dollars was it?
Get it?
Evidently, we did have the numbers because there was controversy about it.
We have the numbers on there.
They approved it.
We had a printout sheet, we all had.
The group approved it, whatever it is.
Well, the previous motions didn't have numbers.
We have it on the printout sheet previously.
Well, correct, but I mean,
A week or two.
this wouldn't be the first one we made a motion to
Yeah, when we
approve.
made the motion, dollar amount wasn't on.
Right.
But the week prior, we had a printout that had it.
Yes.
We don't get it, we always had those available before, so I just didn't know if it was necessary since it was in emergency, people know what we do.
I know, yeah. $20,000.
20,000.
All this is just agreement between them and us, right? That's all this is.
The task force and them, yeah.
Right.
So, need a motion?
Also moved.
I was moved. Second. Fred seconded. Lieutenant removed himself, so.
Can I ask for clarification real quick? The statement, and it's more to what Bob just said, it's an agreement between the task force and the applicant.
Correct.
Except for the board is the one who's responsible. So there, that task force is working behind the scenes and reviewing and then making a recommendation to the governing body. And the governing body is the one who ultimately is responsible for it. So maybe I misunderstood
It's really between them and us.
Well,
This person and the commission.
Because it's the applicant and county that signed it.
Right.
So the way it was stated, I wanted clarification because maybe I misunderstood how you worded that thought.
and maybe I made the statement that it was between the task force and the tavern, but I agree. We have a task force that says basically to us that it's okay to give it $20,000. So if we deny it, then we're micromanaging. That's not what we have a task force for. That's why I said that. That's why I said it that way.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because the way it was worded, it went right into the part of my brain that says I need to make sure that's clarified because there's other counties who don't have a committee that's reviewing and making recommendations to the board. And ultimately, in those situations, all of these applicants would come to the board and they'd make their case to the board, and then the board would make the decision. And Amber can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've spoken to officials in other counties who are what I call envious of the model that we started here because it's a model that appears to work well, but like you said, they vet the people, they vet the applicants, and it's not just a rubber stamp. I've sat through a couple of the meetings, at least the ones I could, and because it's not a rubber stamp, there's actually a very healthy dialogue that goes into play when they're determining whether these funds should be expended as requested or not. And then how many different individuals are a part of the committee, Amber?
There is one from each commission district, one from each city, and then there's probably about 4 various people, me, Rhonda, you.
So all those people get the information and then they determine whether it should move forward to the board. So I just want to make it clear that it's not just a rubber stamp situation. I wasn't a part of this one. I don't know anything about it, but Tom, your point is well taken. But if there's an issue with how the money is spent, then, the board is ultimately responsible for it. The board is the entity that signs their name. And I'm not saying it shouldn't happen, but I wanted to, because the way that was worded, I wanted to make sure it was clarified just a little bit more.
The motion does say to sign the memorandum of agreement between Coffee County and approval recipient of the COVID relief fund.
Yes.
So
So is that where we're at? Bob?
Bob was moved, Fred is second.
Fred second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
And then the second, motion is to appoint Courtney to the Northeast Kansas Homeland Security Council as their voting member. He's been going to the meetings. He already goes for the Southeast Kansas, representative. You already go for Southeast, you're the representative.
Yeah, Southeast, I'm the chair for Woodson County, for the Southeast Homeland Security Council.
it says conflict belonging to both of them.
No. He just gets to vote twice.
No, I don't get to vote.
Oh, you don't get to vote
One in
twice?
each area.
Oh, one in each area.
One for Woodson County, one for Coffee County.
Tim stepped out for this last vote, I don't know why.
He was recusing himself and he wanted to conversate what he's got now.
Yeah, we're done with that part. We're on to the second motion now, Tim, for Northeast Kansas Homeland Security Council representative. Wanted to appoint Courtney, which he's been doing it already, is that correct? So, any discussion on this before we proceed? So motion, Northeast Kansas Homeland Security Council representative, upon the recommendation of the interim emergency management director, move to authorize and direct chairman to sign a letter appointing Courtney Bartley as the Northeast Kansas Homeland Security Council representative for Coffee County. Fred has moved.
All second.
Tim is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Then,
Oh, yes.
with that being said, we have a ton of educational information for us.
I've got a couple things. So here's where I'll start. What I'm gonna hand out to you is Kansas Attorney General Opinion number 87-10, which means 1987, and it was the 10th opinion issued by the Attorney General's office at that point in time. So Attorney General Opinion number 87-10, the reason why I'm bringing this up, last week I wasn't here and just been reviewing the minutes. I think the board already took action on the appointment of individuals to the housing authority, but this is a good, I guess, good background and maybe some education for the board should there be an issue that a request to go into executive session regarding appointment of board. So Attorney General Opinion 87-10 is still, although it's not law per se, it's considered persuasive authority. And it's still the recommendation of the Attorney General's office. And I confirmed that with the Attorney General's office, just so I wasn't speaking out of turn. So the issue in this particular opinion is whether, in this particular case, a request by the city attorney in Emporia, whether the city commission may recess into executive session to discuss the qualifications of candidates for appointed positions on boards or committees of the city. And then it further has a question on page 2, whether appointed members of boards and committees are personnel for the purposes of COMA. Because the way that exception provides to go into executive session is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. So who is personnel? The opinion further goes to discuss on page 3, appointed members of boards and commissions are not employees, but are public officers. The boards and committees are created by the commission, resolution, or by binding action. In performing their duties, members of these bodies carry out governmental functions by exercising the authority delegated to them. And further on, public policy considerations lead us to conclude that persons appointed to public boards and committees are not personnel under the COMA. The qualifications of persons running for elective public office are subject to public scrutiny. The public should also have the opportunity to learn the qualifications of candidates for appointed public positions. In this situation, the public's right to know outweighs personal privacy interests. In concluding, in AG Opinion 8710, persons appointed to public boards and committees are not employees, they are public officers. Therefore, it is our opinion that discussions concerning the qualifications of candidates for such appointed positions cannot take place in an executive session, but must be held in an open meeting.
That answered that question.
And that is an answer to that question, but because I anticipated that might be a question for me, I did some research and looked into it, and I wanted to be able to have some authority to be able to make that statement. That's what my initial reaction was, but having something like this to back it up is always beneficial.
Thank you for the information on that.
Any questions? And I know there's several appointed positions that look like they're coming
Yes.
open by the end of the calendar year. So the second thing I want to bring up, and I'm going to hand out page 26 and 27. It's really just page 26 of the Coffee County Policy Manual. And it deals with what I want to talk about is vacation time. So the reason why I want to bring this to the board's attention for consideration is in section 8.4 that deals with vacation leave. There's for years of continuous employment from 0 to 1, the maximum hours of accumulation is 120 hours. Between 1 and 10, 144, 10 to 15, 180, and 15 or more, 240. And then just below that, it says maximum accumulation is on a calendar year basis and does not include the current year's accrued vacation time. Carryover from 1 year to the next shall not exceed the maximum number or the maximum hours accumulation shown. 2020 puts sort of a wrench in vacation time for county employees. I've not had that research, but I'm going to, because I know within my own office, I've had employees who haven't taken vacation time, and we're gonna end up in a situation potentially all across the county where if there's not a policy change made to allow some latitude to carry over, maybe just because of 2020, then in December, you may have certain departments that are crippled because it's either you use your time or you lose it. Well, if you lose it, then you're gonna have employees who have to make the decision to take the time because they've earned it, and they're gonna lose it otherwise. So I only wanna bring this to your attention right now, so you can think about it. And, once we have some facts and figures that can substantiate how many employees are at this back end threshold, and who, if there's some sort of exception to allow that time to be carried over into next year because of what's occurred this year, then, that needs to be a decision that the board needs to make as a whole. I don't know what the answer is, other than I know what could potentially happen in December, and maybe that's what needs to happen. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Can I join in there for a second? I talked to you guys about this a few months back. I had employees approach asking the very same thing because they they normally would take vacations and go out of state or do different things, and you guys said you would wait and think about it about this time, so I'm glad Wade's bringing that up again to figure out what we can do.
Because of just, the coronavirus has made this a huge issue. Do we actually need to put something in the policy manual, or can we make an exception because of one issue that's made this all happen? Because we put something in the policy manual, the next time something does come up, it may not address it at all. I just wondering, and I don't know what the answer to it is, but I wonder if we can make an exception because of what's created the issue.
So if you're making exceptions, then next time you're making another exception, then you build on exceptions. And instead of that, have something built within the policy manual that can be referred to, because,
in the event of
the board wants to practice what they preach and request that everybody in the county, all officials, all department heads, all employees follow the policy manual. And then if you're making exceptions outside the policy manual, and I understand what you're saying.
I know you gotta be very careful about that.
It needs to be a consideration, in my opinion, where you make a modification or an amendment to your existing policies, because nobody knew 2020 was gonna go down the way it's gone down, and it seems like each week there's a new layer, a new nuance, but, I would suggest that there be a policy-driven decision made, and I think that would be my suggestion, but.
Well, I think we need to follow your lead. I have absolutely no problem with that. But developing a policy to adhere to this one may not fully fit the next issue if another issue comes up.
But this is a unique situation that deals with this particular issue, and if something else occurs, then the board is well within its right to make another modification. I mean, we've done that with the nepotism policy, making an exception or building an exception, and that's written down and a part of the policy manual now, and it wasn't previously. So I think adding to is a lot easier than making an exception and open air and on through a motion today, and then later on down the road, well, you did it this one time, you made this exception, and why aren't you going to make an exception for this? Well, you make it part of your policy manual, then and word it in a way where it covers this unique situation. Then the next time, another unique situation can be addressed.
So can you type up something preliminary for that approve?
Yeah,
or have you already?
No, I'm still in the process of, it was recently brought to my attention, so I wanted to get it in front of you before I went too much further, because I don't know what the timelines are when people will approve the next layer of their vacation time, but I assume they're starting, so we've got a little bit of time, not a whole lot.
Sooner than later. And I get the situation. I mean, there were states where people were not supposed to be going to because of COVID. So it's not their fault. Neither is it ours, but still we ought to do something.
What's the most that someone can accumulate in a given year if they don't take any time at all? In hours earned per month, if it's 0 to 1, 6.67, 1 to 10, it's 8, 10. So, I mean, if somebody theoretically hasn't taken any time, then they use it or lose it, then somebody's going to be gone for 120 hours, 144, 180, 240. If you have multiple people in multiple departments that need to take some time so they don't go over the maximum accumulation in a calendar year, then, that's a problem. Or maybe it's not. I don't know.
Something to think about, that's for sure.
Yeah, that 240 hours is 6 weeks. We probably got quite a few employees that are in that area.
And I don't know, because that's I think we need to get a baseline and figure out where people are, and if they have that time. So,
Hey Wade, is there a reason that the county couldn't put something in their handbook of a buyback vacation occurred? Like say they wanted to take a week off, but they have 3 weeks of vacation. Is there an option to the county buying back their time, basically paying them to stay and work, basically? Is that an option?
it's not within the policy.
Right, I understand, but would it be easier to put something like that in the policy versus trying to figure out what to do with the situation at hand now?
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, it'd be something.
I do that with my guys. If they get 2 weeks of vacation, they only want to take 1 week, then they sell theirs back to me, and then they work, and they get double pay, basically, that's what they do.
And we used to have that policy in the county, the old county policy manual. We had that for the sheriff's office just because of the shift work and essential personnel. The county used to do that to where if a sheriff's office employee maxed out, once they maxed out for that year, every month then say they got another, got another 10 hours. Well, instead of piling it up, the county just paid them for those 10 hours. And that way they just never got over that max. That's what the county used to do years ago.
The only issue you open up on that, you'll have employees that'll not take any vacation and get their money. I know the accountability, when I was at the elevator, it was in a policy where they had to take a week off and it had to be a week straight in order to break an issue that may be happening that wasn't legal. Now, I'm not saying anything,
Right.
Don't misunderstand that statement. But I think you gotta be a little bit, vacations, to me, ought to be somewhat required.
I agree 100%. I try to encourage
I
my
think you'll be
employees
very
too,
careful about
because
having.
you need that mental break, I think, sometimes to get
There
away.
are several reasons for that break.
Yeah.
But there are some reasons that, our legal counsel, that was just part of the policy. Had to take that vacation, it's not at all possible.
And I don't have an answer. And in some of my previous stops along the way, I maxed out my vacation time and I lost vacation time because I didn't use it because it had that same, and that was on me, but.
It's like when I retired from the elevator, I left a year's vacation on the table. I got paid for 2 weeks, but that was my choice.
Right.
But if you earn it and you're told either you use it or you lose it, then, I know people who will, my brother, I know he uses it. That's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you earn it, it's yours.
Absolutely.
So I want to make sure that the employees in Coffee County feel like that they're, because of the uniqueness of 2020 and what COVID has done all across the board, that they feel like that these governing bodies doing what's in their best interest. And the initial part of that is having this discussion and dialogue and figuring out what the options are. I'm not proposing anything one way or another. This is me, as I use the term, planting seeds right now.
We'll be back in session Wednesday, so for checks and vouchers. I actually like Jesse's idea of buying it back.
And maybe
as opposed to-
another idea would be in the interim is to get feedback and input from each of the department heads on what their thoughts are, and what they know better who has what time accumulated in each department. Or maybe they don't, and maybe they don't know it's even an issue. And then if they have any suggestions, because they're, each department head and elected official is sort of the one who knows how this particular provision would impact their individual department. So the last thing I have. Yep. I'm not gonna hand.
I gotta give you a static, sorry.
I wasn't here last week, so. So this was sort of, brought on by our county election officer, Brad Jones, and he brought it up, and there was actually a meeting last week. And it's in relation to the election, the advanced ballots, as well as the actual election itself. And then it sort of stemmed from a conversation I had with some people outside the courthouse some gentlemen I know, we were just having a general conversation, and they were not aware of some of what Kansas law talks about can and can't occur around or near polling places. So electioneering, disorderly election conduct, and intimidation of voters, and what we discussed initially sort of has been taken from some of what Sedgwick County has up on their website in reference to these particular statutes. Electioneering is KSA 25-2430. Disorderly election conduct is KSA 25-2413. Intimidation of voters is 25-2415. Why that's important, for instance, if I come in right now to do an advanced vote within the courthouse, because this is a polling place at this point in time, if I come in and I have whoever I'm supporting for president, for Congress, whatever it might be, and I have a shirt on, a hat, our election officials will kindly request that that individual either turn their shirt inside out or take their hat off. Not because they're trying to or attempting to be disrespectful to that person, but under the way the law is written, it's a violation of the law, and they're trying to follow what the law states or indicates. So, for example, electioneering, you may wonder, and even law enforcement's not even aware of some of these statutes because the enforcement and prosecution of these particular statutes does not occur very often, because most people, after they're made aware that it's something they need to do, it's not an issue at all. So public education, I think, is important. That's part of why I'm here, and why I think it's important that people know in this community, and these are state laws, not just county laws. So electioneering, knowingly attempting to persuade or influence eligible voters to vote for or against a particular candidate, party, or question submitted, including wearing, exhibiting, or distributing labels, signs, posters, stickers, or other materials that clearly identify a candidate in the election, or support or opposition to a question submitted election, or within a polling place on election day or advanced voting site during the time period allowed by law for casting a ballot by advanced voting, or within a radius of 250 feet from the entrance thereof. So that 250 feet buffer is, it's important. Right now, the Coffee County Courthouse is an advanced voting place, so that 250 feet buffer is in play. And any other voting place in the county on election day will also apply. And but electioneering does not include bumper stickers on a motor vehicle used to transport voters to a polling place or to an advanced voting site for the purpose of voting, or to actions related to candidates or questions not on the ballot for the current election. Any person that appears to be engaged in electioneering may be asked to stop the electioneering activity and or leave. An example, a person wearing a candidate campaign button, cap, or mask can be asked to remove the item and put in his or her pocket. And that's just an example. The next one, disorderly election conduct, is willfully, one, disturbing the peace in or about any voting place on election day, two, leaving or attempting to leave a voting place in possession of a ballot, except as permitted by law, approaching or remaining
closer than 3 feet to any voting booth, voting machine, or table being used by an election board, except as admitted for the purpose of voting or by authority of the supervised judge, for interrupting, hindering, or obstructing any person approaching from the entrance of a polling place during the hours the polls are open on election day. And then the last one, intimidation of voters. Intimidation of voters is 1, intimidating, threatening, coercing, or attempting to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for the purpose of interfering with the right of such person to vote, or to vote as he may choose, or of causing such person to vote for or not vote for any candidate for any office or question submitted at any election, or 2, mailing, publishing, broadcasting, telephoning, or transmitting by any means false information intended to keep one or more voters from casting a ballot or applying for or returning an advance voting ballot. I think the electioneering is the one that's probably where a lot of people aren't aware, and, you know, wearing a shirt or a hat that has whatever whoever they're supporting, and you see it all over. It's not really that big a deal, but according to what the law says, doing it at a voting place, it ends up being a problem. So this is just more of a public awareness type issue. The individuals that I had talked to outside the courthouse, they indicated to me that they thought it was important enough that the public be aware that these are statutes that are actually on the books, and they encouraged me to see if there was a way where it could get out into the community, because I just, according to, I knew it was there, I didn't know the depth of it, I didn't know the 250 feet buffer at one point in time, but educating the public, I think, is part of what my job is and what can be done in this forum as well. So there's nobody that is, I've not been provided as county attorney any reports that would indicate for me that there's any active investigation or any cases that are being filed in the district court for this. So I just wanted that to be clear. And this is just like I said, public awareness. So.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. We've got a week and 1 day. 1 day. So, and if you've watched what's happened in other parts of the country, I don't think we'll see anything like that here. And that's it. That's all I have. Unless you have something for me.
I don't think so.
Thanks, buddy.
Don't say never, Wade, 2020.
Karen, I'm sorry I didn't see you behind Fred's monitor. Did you have something you wanted to bring?
No, I'll wait till after you're done to see if it's brought up.
Okay. I guess Angie, you're up.
I just wanted to add to what Wade was talking about on the electioneering. That's something that I train all the poll workers on also during election training, and they're supposed to look for that because they're the eyes out there. And then if there's anything they see that is concerning to them, they are supposed to call law enforcement. So I just want to add that also on an election day. Remember this Wednesday, you guys signed checks and vouchers. I have Wade, he's working on that proclamation that Tim had talked to me about. I don't know if we'll have it this week, but if we get it for next week, that'll be okay. We do have early voting going on in the clerk's office. Or actually, it's in the old commission room upstairs next to the clerk's office. This week, the hours will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's open to anyone that would like to vote early, so there's no criteria for a person that like to vote early, it's open to anyone and everyone. And at this point, we've had 671 people vote in the courthouse, and we've had 175 mail ballots come back. We've met our 10% of the overall 6,274 registered voters, or 84 registered voters. Let's see, if all of the mail ballots come back, we will have 1,271 that have voted early. And then the last thing I had was that on Friday, our insurance committee, which is Bob, myself, and Denise, met with the hospital. They had some concerns over billing and getting reimbursed for services. And I coordinated a meeting with Gallagher and also BMI, and they came down, and it was a simple fix that we think will have them back and happy. So did you want to add anything to that, Bob?
No, I think that we gotta take care of everybody, should be satisfied with what they decide to do. The guy looked at it and says, this is pretty simple. I mean, the hospital had questions, and he said, we can fix that for you.
It was basically had to do with lab payments and stuff like that, and so they've got that all figured out. So that's all I have today.
Tim?
When do you think we can do that Wednesday?
The proclamation.
Proclamation.
Yeah, I've got it partly done. I got some of this other stuff.
You bet. I think we'll do it Wednesday. Nope, that's all I had.
Fred?
I don't have anything.
Our wage study, do we have a date that Lisa is planning on being here, or I know we're shooting for late October, early November to have that finished.
No, it's late October.
I'm just kind of curious if they had a target date that's working.
All I know is last time I talked with her, she mentioned November, that we were on track for November, so I would call it a to be determined.
Okay, maybe we can have Donna just touch base with her, just to kind of see where she might be, that way we'll know something Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I didn't want to go, into the January timeframe.
I just didn't be over with myself. Anything else?
No.
For me, I don't remember what month it was that we decided not, we used to do that in April, was it not, cost of living raises? We decided not to do that because we didn't know where we were gonna be COVID wise, and we did do the step increases because it's in the policy manual. We did not pass out cost of living raises. Now we're sitting here thinking about buying back vacations. People are coming in asking for extra money for COVID this and COVID that, and we're passing it out. Might think about passing back out that cost of living raise that we denied them back in April. So, something to think about for Wednesday as well, roundtable. A little morale booster for our employees. I mean, I don't know, that's just my opinion.
Been a tough year on everybody.
Well, I don't think the COVID thing's gonna bother the county as much as maybe it would a small city or something like that. I haven't seen much effects from it, so. That's all I got. Donna?
Lebo drive-through flu shot clinics tonight at the fire station from 5:30 to 6:30.
They changed that,
Oh, they did?
the Monday the 3rd.
Okay. Thank you, Brad.
Because of the weather.
Yes, because of weather.
To Monday the
Monday the 3rd.
second.
Second.
Okay. That's all I have, Tom.
So Karen, did it get brought up what you wished?
No, I had heard last week's meeting, Don had brought up that he thought that I had a mistake on my, interest report. And Don and I had a discussion, and I was just hoping that he would have brought that up, that we did have that discussion, and that I did give him verification that everything was correct that I had given him.
Yeah, Karen passed out last week, pardon? And I did forget about Karen, and I wasn't complaining about technically, I just wanted an explanation on it. But for the first quarter of 2020 compared to 2019, interest income had decreased by approximately 25%. Second quarter was nearly the same. The third quarter, which is July, August, and September, the earnings that Karen had printed, it was down approximately 75%. And I've just asked Karen why that big of a drop. And Karen done a great job of explaining it to me. And right now, Karen, if you don't mind, I'll let you give the details. Interest rates has continued to drop here the last 6-8 months, maybe 12-15 months. I didn't realize that it had taken that big of a drop in the particular area that our funds are invested into. So.
Well, I just explained that, I'm gonna take this off so you can hear me better. The way I invest the money normally, first of all, I can't go longer than a year. Normally when I see the interest rates dropping like they did, I'm gonna put it in for 6 months, because the difference, it may go up in that 6 months. Yes, it may go down, but if you're already at 0.08, it doesn't have a whole lot to go down. So you might as well take the chance that maybe it will go up, was my thinking. I will tell you that a year ago, this time, well, let's say a year ago in March, because what I'm renewing now at my 6 months is what I purchased in March. And a year ago, in March, the rates were somewhere around 2.41, I believe. And in March of this year, there was a section in there that it actually went to 0.0. The state rate did, so.
That explains the drop.
Yes.
That's what
I did not get any of those investments at 0.0. I do have some at 0.09, which I'm not happy with, but I know that's where we're at for right now. Even our interest rate in our active banking accounts dropped. As he had said, the money is down 75%, but in fact, the interest rates are well over 95% less. So
the next quarter, it'll be a further drop.
Well, I had some that are set up for a year. So luckily, I'm still getting some that I'm getting what I got in last
There were still some at 1.9, 1.95, 2.1. You had some various rates there.
Right.
I didn't realize that particular area that you were invested in, is kind of totally falling out of bed. So.
Right. And then, like I said, it is based on a state rate. It's not based on what you can go buy a CD for. It's based on a state rate. So, and that's a little bit less.
Appreciate your update on it when I talked to you. So.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Anybody else? Anything to share? Talk about? Concern? Not. We'll adjourn at 11:40. Recess. And we got to recess at 11:48. We got to reconvene 9 o'clock Wednesday mornings. Check it out.
Yeah, I got proud of that. I told Karen,